Good afternoon.
Hi there.
What are you guys seeing on your screen?
Hi there. The Ignite cover page, session 19.
Okay. Are you seeing the side rail as well?
Yes.
Hmm. Darn it. We have all four people in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Well, what am I doing where it's showing the full screen instead of the other stuff? Well, that's not what we. Are you seeing the Ignite screen again?
Yes.
Okay, well, we're just gonna work with this. Oh, I remember what I did, what I didn't do. Okay, but we're here now, if that's okay with everybody. So how's everyone doing so far with their business?
Progressing, but slowly.
Progression, that's good.
Yeah, I'm going
Hey,
straight.
Miss Mara, I forgot to do something while turning on to be able to share my screen. And so this, I either get this or this.
It's not changing whatever you're showing, but we can see your PowerPoint.
You can?
Yeah, we can see your PowerPoint, but there wasn't a difference between the two things you did.
Okay, so I'm just gonna work forward with this screen if that's okay.
Yeah, I think if you hit enable editing on the top, it'll allow
Okay.
for you to like start the presentation for them as well.
Okay, what do I
Options.
do? Because I was working right up until 2 minutes till. Usually I take 15 minutes to make sure I don't do this.
So if you go to slideshow on the top menu where it says like home, insert, draw, design, transitions, and then goes to slideshow.
What is it under? Slideshow.
Yep. And then you'll be able to do from beginning or from current slide. And then you can scroll through to whichever one you want to start with.
I'm on slideshow.
And then on the left-hand side on the top, it says from beginning or from current slide in the very corner.
It's not showing me that. I am so sorry.
Okay. Is our faces in front of it or something maybe?
No. Oh, there we go.
Okay, perfect. There you go.
Maybe it just took a minute. And then now I see everyone. And then this comes back up.
We can see the slideshow now. So you should be able to arrow through the different pages.
Okay. All right. So hold on.
Who is... I'm going to do a quick accountability check-in while you get that started too, and then I'll introduce you.
Thank you.
Yes. So Lily, how's everything going with your contacts?
Pretty good. I feel like right now there's nothing super serious, or the time frames that people are working within are extremely flexible. I just think market conditions right now are, they're what they are, but contacts has been good.
Perfect. Yeah, and as long as we're getting consistently out in front of the right amount of contacts, then the pipeline should start building for sure. And Jake?
Hey, Mara. Good. Things are clipping along. I'm making contacts just about every day. Just kind of depends on if they're planned or not. Usually the best contacts have come from folks that I did not plan on talking to, but either ran into or met through someone else. So that's good. Got some open houses on the horizon again this weekend. Those have been really positive, and I've definitely got my most amount of leads from those.
Excellent. Good job. And Ken,
Hi.
how's your contacts coming along?
Slow but sure. I've made 5 more this morning. On my way over to see if my flyers were finished, but they weren't. But I've got five new contacts to enter in. I'm working on getting my buyer's presentation and my listing presentation wrapped up this week, so I'll be sending that to you.
Excellent. Great. Caitlin?
Good. I have a friend who's looking to buy, and I was talking to her about like the process so far because I referred her to someone prior to me getting a license.
Oh, perfect.
But helping out with that, and then so that's giving me like a good kind of like slow intro to everything. But then I was just talking to her about like other people, and so she's having some conversations with some friends before she feels comfortable kind of giving me their contact. She wants to like talk to them first. So
Got permission. Perfect.
yeah, so but it's been good.
Good. Vaibhav?
Hey Mara, Mara, working on my buyer's presentation. Maybe I should have it ready for a review in the next couple of days.
Excellent. Good.
Mara, I wanted to check on one thing.
Yeah.
So, for checking whether a particular phone number is on the DND list, what is the service that we need to subscribe to?
The principal brokers can get you set up for access with it.
Okay, and for that we need to reach out to somebody specific in Keller Williams?
Yeah, like Stacy or Tammy.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Sherry?
I'm working on my list or my buyer's packet. So
Excellent.
getting through that one today.
Good job. Awesome. And is it Hajing? Oh,
Hi.
Jane. Hey, Jane.
Yeah. So I feel I just fall behind and yeah, but I listened some AI classes yesterday and it gave me a lot of inspiration, and I would like to just set up my profile step by step.
Good job. Awesome. Well, some of you on here have already sent me your business plan, so thank you if you've already done that. If you haven't, please just a reminder to go ahead and do that. If you haven't done it yet, we are doing office hours today at 4. That's going to specifically kind of focus in on that business plan and making sure we're creating it and set up. So again, if you've already done it, you're probably good. If not, and you have questions or you want more feedback, come on at 4. And then tomorrow we have our panel that we're live streaming from Eugene. So if you're in the Eugene office, you can come in person. If you're not, then we will have it on Zoom as well. That will also be talking about business planning because it's kind of what we're doing. But without further ado, today we have Laura Knight. She is a realtor with Keller Williams Southern Oregon in the Klamath Falls office as a solo agent. She enjoys being a part of the KW culture, helping her fellow agents succeed by learning the MREA business model, building a successful career and lifestyle by design. So you guys are in great hands. Looks like her slides are all rep and ready to go. And then I've got your little ding dong noise on. So if someone does come on late, you should be able to hear them.
Mara, before you drop off, how do you get connected to these? You said it's an open session today afternoon?
Yep. I can resend you the office hour link there. It's the same link for every Wednesday and Friday.
So is it on the calendar, the weekly emails that we get? Is it somewhere on the calendar?
It's on the monthly Market Center calendars, but it's a reoccurring thing, so they're usually kind of off to the side. And then that productivity coaching information email has all of it. So I'll re-forward it to you.
Well, thank you everybody for being here. So far, you've negotiated offers going backwards. You've, received them, working with buyers and sellers, winning the seller and winning the buyer. So now that we have gone over 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, we are going to get to the close. Now, have any of you actually closed properties before? Have you gone through a closing?
No.
Okay. So there's a lot of negotiation before you get to closing. And then when you prep for the, you've got your contract, you just get your contract. So we're going to go over the layers that it takes to have a successful closing. Some of the highlights, the timelines that we need, and then also, things that could happen and how to get around them to make sure that you've been in this contract for weeks. You want to make sure you get to the closing table because both sides really want to get things closed. And the best thing that you can do is educate yourself. And no matter how bumpy something gets, you never let your clients sweat. You just, you be honest about what's going on, but you don't have to be like, oh my God, this is happening, because you don't want to alert your client, because you are that pillar of strength for everybody going through that transaction, be it your first, your 100th. Is that a word? 100. Anyway, yeah, you've got to be that pillar of calm and reason no matter what goes on. Have you had any challenges or anything you've encountered over the last few weeks with taking Ignite?
No.
Nope. And I'm very interactive. I ask a lot of questions, and feel free to jump in and answer, or if you just want to sit, but every once in a while I may call on somebody for an answer, just to make sure that we're all awake. Bear with me while I didn't get my computer prepped up. I've got some closings coming up, and wouldn't you know, everybody called me about 30 minutes before I was supposed to hop on. So I can get them closed. Now getting them closed and getting Zoom to work, that's two different things. So anyway, what we're covering today are the timelines, your best practices and risk avoidance, which is huge. You also have referrals and reviews. So everybody you meet along the way is an opportunity to collaborate with, either getting another buyer or seller, or at least another contractor or vendor that you can use moving forward. Then we'll go over post close up follow-up. And then we'll also go over recaps and AHAs, which AHA is agent helping agents. So how we can help one another, be it a Keller Williams agent or any agent in any agency. It does make it nice when you have more than one transaction with a person. You get to know how they are, and you can successfully work together. And then the daily successes. Any questions? So real estate transactions aren't particularly trouble-free. It's a strenuous and trying time that requires all the attention and effort you can command. And that, a lot of people think real estate is easy. but there's a lot of highs and lows, and that's part of your job. Once you understand that your job isn't to be emotional, you can be happy and share with your clients, but overall, what we're looking to do is to be the strength. No matter what comes at you, no matter what, it's like, I got this, and you guys do, because Keller Williams is great. And I'm not saying that just because I'm on Zoom. I was with a different brokerage. It was a good brokerage, nice people, but I wanted more, and Keller gave that to me. And but it's what you put into it and what you ask for. And yeah, there's a lot that you can lean on so many people. So let's see. So let me get over and switch this up. So on your timelines, do you guys have any idea of your timelines and what they might be after you get under contract? Yeah, let me help you out.
Have a rough idea, but not a real clear picture.
Yeah. First thing, somebody needs to open up escrow. It's usually the listing agent. And in the sales contract, there will be a line of which escrow company you'll be using. In the MLS, you will usually say the seller preference. Sometimes you can put seller preference. You can put whichever title company your buyer is closest to, or you can use a title company that you're familiar with. You're used to working with different teams, and you can actually put that into the offer. When you're first starting out, you may just want to go with you know, the seller's choice. I'm in Klamath Falls, but I use a title company over in Medford, primarily because I can get a title report in less than a week. We have one title company in Klamath Falls, and they're really nice people, and they're just really sweet. They just can't produce a product for me fast enough. And the longer we wait to get to closing, the more opportunity for things to go awry. So if I can get a timely title report, because there is a 5-day, if the buyer or seller gets a title report, and if the seller can't clear it, and if there's a red flag on there that the buyer says, hey, it's going to take 3 months before we get to close, I can't do that because my job starts on this day. I'm going to go find another house. They can do that. So always read your title reports. And if you don't understand it, call the title company and say, can you explain this to me? I don't know. Or, you know, you can talk to anybody in the market center as well. Any questions?
No.
So with the timelines, there we go. You guys have a contract that you've been using? Nope. Okay. So this is just a contract timeline. And this is for the inspection period. Usually people will do an inspection within the first 2 weeks. Even though this is the end date, you would want to have your inspection somewhere in the middle in case you need to negotiate repairs. So if you're negotiating repairs, you can ask the seller to get some bids. You can get some bids, but that is a part of negotiation. And so it's an important part. Some buyers will see and want everything on a inspection report to be repaired, when really what you should look at are the big things and find a way to negotiate through that. And in some cases, people may just do a, like in lieu of repairs, $2,000 towards buyers or closing costs. something like that. The hard things to get, especially in our area of Oregon, plumbers and electricians. And the two most popular things that pop up is plumbing and electrical. So sometimes we find a way to make it work. Other times, if both parties are willing and they have the time, you will extend your inspection period timeline to accommodate getting a repairman out there to take care of things. I had earlier this year a house, it was an older house, really well maintained, but there was a flaw in the electrical panel that the power company had to come out and turn off the power feed to the house so they could rework that board and get it repaired. And it was about a 2 or 3 hour fix, but it was about a 10-day waiting period to get all of the permits that you needed and the electrician scheduled to go out there and do it and then get it signed off. So those are always things that you need to be aware of. So there is the title report that you can negotiate on. There is the inspection. The inspection report is a huge one. The next one, it would be your financing and getting your appraisal out. Sometimes people put enough money down and they're in such good standing. If they want to waive their appraisal, then they can. It depends on the lender, the loan type, and how much money they're putting down. So that's always nice there. If you ever get a contract or you get that opportunity, that will help fast track you to closing, as long as both parties, they're aware of that. The seller, especially in the market now, is probably just as happy. And for the buyer, if they're feeling comfortable moving forward, then it's a win-win for everybody. And that's mostly what it's not mostly, that's what we want, is a win-win on both sides. But never sell your client out, but do talk reason, because they don't always understand how a contract works. So when you first start working with your clients, you remind them how much you know about that contract. And, just reinforce, well, it's in the contract. A lot of buyers want to do a walkthrough before closing. That's usually the worst time for a walkthrough, but I understand it. And it is part of risk mitigation, because at the very end, the buyer doing a walkthrough is them pretty much accepting, okay, yeah, we're going to go through with this. Even though the seller may have boxes, dogs running, kids running, all this other stuff, it's like, please, you can see we're moving and everything's going to be fine, right? And so some buyers will want to do a walkthrough before they actually sign their closing docs, which it's like, okay, you're going to walk into complete and total pandemonium, but rightio. Any questions so far?
Not yet.
Okay, so who all will you be communicating with during your transaction? The other agent. You will be dealing with title company and then all the people that's part of that escrow team. Going to be dealing with inspectors. And it could be you're also going to be dealing with contractors.
Appraisers.
Then you'll be dealing with the appraiser. Did I say loan officer?
No.
Yep, you'll be dealing with the loan officer as well. And some people will go ahead and hire a cleaning crew for their seller or for their buyer to do a cleanup, either at the end of moving out or prior to buyers moving in. And there could also be a whole list of vendors. There could be, sorry, I missed 2 people. Sorry for the delay. So there are a lot of people that you will deal with on a regular basis throughout the contract. And then if you have questions, Some questions you can ask the other people that are in the office. Other times, just go straight to your PB and ask the principal broker, I don't know what to do about this. And because there's some things that I can help people with in the office, there's other things where I have to direct that question directly to a principal broker, because our principal broker is who oversees, and I am just I'm just a broker. I'm not a principal broker. And that stands with all of us. Now I can tell you what I've done. You know, I've had a situation like that, and so this is the way I did it. But if it's something that's very specific, definitely reach out to our reviewing brokers or to Tammy Sue. They're wonderful. On every email that you get on Mondays that have the outline, if you scroll to the bottom of that email, you're always going to find the list of people to contact, and then the after hours number when you need a PB after hours. Any questions?
Not yet.
Okay, I'll keep talking. And I talk a lot. No.
That's okay.
Can you see me in the office? You know, sometimes I just can't help myself.
That's
So,
okay.
so what is the first thing that a buyer needs?
Loan approval?
Buyer's rep.
Oh, buyer's rep.
Yeah, buyer's rep, loan approval. You need to outline to the buyers what's going on and how we will proceed. What you need to know is, you know, who the other agent is, the inspectors, the lenders, all the other stuff that I just kind of touched on. And how are you going to bulletproof the transaction and set yourself up and your buyers up for a successful close? And how you do that is being on top of your timeline and answering always. You can set your timelines or how many hours a day that you work, and always ask your buyer, how is the best way we can communicate? Do you prefer text, email, or phone calls? And the younger your buyer is, more likely they are going to want a text message. People in my age group, please, for God's sakes, call me. I may miss your text. Yeah. But it's true. And if you do text out and you don't get a response, then call. And Jake, you're good. If I see you pop back in, sometimes I hear the ding and I miss seeing it on my screen. So just give me a second, be patient, and I get it pop back up. So anyway, let me go back over here. So any questions at this point?
Not yet.
All righty. So here we're going to go, and this is a buyer timeline. At the time of getting an accepted offer, that's when you give your buyer the list of inspectors. And I always give at least 2 inspectors that I've used or I use regularly, and I let the buyer choose. Sometimes I call the inspector for my buyer. Other buyers want to do it themselves because they want to shop around a bit. That's like one of the first things you do is get that inspection scheduled. A lot of guys or women may be out a week or 10 days. Let's say you can't find one within your timeline. Then you may have to write an addendum to extend the inspection period. But just because you write an addendum doesn't mean the seller has to agree to it. Just always keep that in mind. So when you get an addendum, before you send it over to the listing agent, you say, hey, look, I tried inspector A, B, C, D, and everyone's booked out. Do you have somebody? Because if you don't, we'll need to extend our inspection period timeline. Most people understand and get it. And sometimes if you beg and offer coffee, you might get an inspector out earlier. Okay, next on the timeline, earnest money. That buyer, you need to get on top of your buyer and make sure they put their earnest money in. With Keller Williams, we have our buyers send it straight to the title company. Ken here in Klamath, I've had people drop the check off in the mailbox. I'll pick it up and I will hand deliver it to AmeriTitle. For First American, they have an app. You as the agent with the check from the buyer, you can actually input it through the app for First American. So, and I'm sure the other title companies have apps as well. And it really does fast track. But this is it. If you don't get that earnest money in by whatever the contract says, then you're out of contract. And unless you've made an addendum stating that there's issues or whatever, anytime there's a change to that original contract, that sales agreement that both parties have agreed upon, any change to that, you need to add an addendum. And if you get too many addendums, it makes a transaction muddy. So try to cover all of these bases with your buyer and impress upon them the words that I'm saying today on how to make sure that they abide by those timelines. And anytime that you fall out of contract, it's, you're under grace at that point. So, any questions? Nope. Okay. So once you get your inspector confirmed, then that's when you let the listing agent know when the inspector will be there and the time of day. And then you ask who's going to open the door. Will the sellers be on property? Is it vacant? Any of that stuff. And you get that lined up. If I have a listing that is vacant, definitely I will be over there as the listing agent to make sure that the inspector gets in. And sometimes I've worked with a lot of people in town. If they can't make it, then it's like, hey, you want me to open it up? If I have the buyer, I'll go ahead and open it up. For me, it's not a big deal. Unless it's like 2 hours away, then I get cranky. So then after the inspection, you get the report. You read over the report with your buyer and you figure out if there's any repairs that the buyers want to have done, right? And, the first few times, talk it over with whoever is mentoring you or your coach and help, they can help you with that. And then if you're not quite sure if something is legit, talk to your PD. So then send your inspection response. This is the buyer's agent. Send your inspection response to the listing agent of what the buyer is asking for. Always stress upon the buyer that in the contract, it states that the house is being purchased as is, unless you come to a different agreement on repairs. So the seller isn't obligated to make repairs, but the buyer isn't obligated to purchase without the repairs. So that's whenever negotiations are really, really important, because both parties, the buyer wants to buy, the seller wants to sell. So you get really creative of how to get through and make it a win-win for both sides. And if you've got the buyer, you can just say, hey, listing agent, this is a legitimate ask, because I can't help but think any buyer coming in would really want to have those gutters repaired so we don't have ice damming during winter and ruin the roof. Something along those lines. But if it's like, hey, listing agent, I know your seller wants to change every switch plate cover in the house. No, they don't. They're fine with it. So that's where you negotiate, and you have to think what is a reasonable ask. Let's say there's only 3 years left on the roof. Would you ask the seller to offset some of that cost or pay for half of a new roof through closing costs or something like that, or to have it done prior to closing? So these are all things of negotiation. And when you get there, most of them aren't that extreme, but I like to kind of scare people. No, just kidding. This way you guys can be ahead of it as you move through your contract saying, okay. And the first time that you do get an inspection report, call on the people who are mentoring you or coaching you and say, hey, help me with this. I don't know what I'm reading. Because first time that you look over an inspection report, if you haven't done it before, it's like, what's all this gobbledygook? So that's exactly what your buyer is going to look at too. And the buyer's thinking, you know, what is this? And your job is to say, okay, this is something that's normal. This is normal wear and tear. You're buying a used property. Anything that's not a brand new build is a used property. Somebody's lived there, and there's going to be, you know, bumps and bruises along the way. But there's some things that sound really scary that aren't. And there's some things that are really scary and they don't sound scary. So it's up to you to get to know. And you can do a walkthrough at the end with the inspector and say, can you explain that to me? Or let's say you don't, you can still call the inspector and say, can you explain under the HVAC system what this means? So there's always options. Just always remember there's always options. Don't give up. And then with the appraisal, when the appraiser comes in, they could come in low. You can try to negotiate, or you can say, you know what, I'm good with that. And if you're the listing agent and the buyer comes and says, we're 5,000 below, we appraised at 5,000 below, seller can say, well, I want an additional 5,000 cash. You know, that's too bad for you. But in today's market, it's like, hey, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller, we are at a point to where we're lucky we have a buyer. So let's rethink that price. And many times, especially right now in the market, the seller will say, okay, and we'll accommodate the buyer at the appraised value. Because it's really hard to make someone purchase a house when they know that it didn't appraise at value. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And then again, final walkthrough. And on this contract, it's showing that it is a 1 month contract. And that is on average. Sometimes in Klamath, you know, if there's a hiccup or something, it may take 5 to 6 weeks. But overall, I've been doing pretty good with four-week closings, 1 month closings. Sometimes having a new septic system installed might hold you back for a couple of weeks, but nothing that can't be handled. So this right here is something that you really have to be aware of, which is in the inspection period end. So all of the stuff that you can take care of is going to be during that inspection period. The only other time that sometimes with an appraisal, they will say, they will call a condition saying the house is at value or it's above value, but it needs a new paint job. So guess what? Seller, if they want to sell the house, will have to do a new paint job. And it happens. So any questions?
Yes, on the inspection period end, is it a typical 1 week, 2 week?
In the contract, if you don't fill it out, it will auto-populate. Well, it doesn't auto-populate, but you'll see in the parentheses on that line, 10 business days.
Okay, thank you.
So this week would be 4 business days because yesterday was Veterans Day. And thank you
Right.
for your service to any veterans that are in here today.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's how you count it. And always, especially if you're the listing agent, don't forget about those holidays because it will extend that inspection period by 1 extra business day the following week. And also, if you're like ready to do closings on Friday with with Veterans Day being on Tuesday this year, guess what? Come Wednesday, you're going to be really busy talking to the title company, getting everything set up for Friday closings. So just that's something to be aware of. Put it in real terms. So just for the buyers, communication of deadlines, communication of contact other parties, Lender and buyer communications, communication of a list or lists of recommended title companies, inspectors, and insurance agents. You can actually put that, oh, I forgot that, in the list of people that you talk to. Before a buyer can purchase, they need to have an insurance binder. So whenever you're ordering an inspector, make sure they get in touch with an insurance company to get insurance, especially if they live in a wooded area. I've lost deals because insurance was so high that it made the monthly payment so high that the buyers would be, house poor. So they backed out, and they can, because that is part of a financing contingency. You can't get a loan without having homeowners insurance. And if you can't afford the homeowners insurance, then you can't afford, because it goes into your monthly payment, it will knock you out. So yes, an insurance agent is very important to be able to close. So scheduling and communication with inspectors and listing agents, and then sending amendments or inspection reports to other side title and lending. Other things you should ask yourself, when are you reminding your buyers to not make big purchases? Just about every time you talk to them. Don't buy the furniture. For God's sakes, 3 days before closing, don't go buy a truck so it will help you move. Don't do it, you will lose. Am I communicating notice of any holidays that may delay the process? What we just talked about. How do I negotiate the inspection report, and when am I communicating this information? You talk everything over with your client first. And if before you talk to your client, if you are like on the fence of how do I approach this, again, talk to your mentor, your coach, principal broker, someone in your office that's trusted, that you can say, hey, this is what I'm going through. What can I do? So, and when do you touch base with the lender, the title company, or the listing agent? Every time you move forward or you add an addendum, you let people know. I never send an inspection report to the title company or the lender, because that's not their job. You send all of the contract to, your addendums that affect the contract price, anything like that. So if you adjust the price on addendum 2 and you have an addendum 1 to extend the inspection period, you have to send addendum 1 and addendum 2 to the title company so they don't think they're missing out on anything. So these are documentation points that you need to ask yourself, is this an active communication or a document? And even when you send like DocuSign, text your people and say, documents just sent. Call me if you have questions. And always double check who's getting the document after it gets signed, who gets that document. And of course, always put it into your command. What is the best pathway for communicating, sending the document to the responsible party? You will run into people that do not want to do anything online, and they will insist in person. Not always fun, but you get to make it fun. That's up to you. So you can either meet the people if you have the seller, you can meet them at their house, or more often than not, have people come to your office, because this way you can scan it into your computer. You can make copies if need be. But if they are in-person people, that's why we have an office and drop-in desk. And are there templates for this that I can use or create to save effort, streamline communication across transactions? Yes, use your command system. There's all sorts of reminders in there. Plus, whenever you're putting together your buyer's presentation before you get your buyer, or when they first sign on with you, you can give them a cheat sheet, a list. These are the things you can expect during the transaction. And these are the ways I have you down for communication. Things that you've verbally shared with your client, just put it in writing and make sure that you have a copy of what you have shared with your client, put it into your folder. So at any time they say, well, you didn't tell me that, you can say, oh, I'm so sorry. Maybe you missed that because there was so much stuff going on. But if you look at page 3 of what you can expect once you go under contract, you will see where it says we need the earnest money, that you have to, it's not just digits on the contract, that we need to get that into the title company. But don't say it so snarky because I didn't mean it that way. So, any questions? Is everybody awake? No.
Yes.
I've had my afternoon coffee. Okay, so once again, where am I at on this? How come it's, sorry. So here's your timeline. You can take a picture of that. I don't know if it's in your handout, but these are basically your timelines over and over and over again. And then you can take this right here and personalize it for your buyer. And you can hand it, even though you've already signed and you've your buyer rep agreement, and then you've gone through and done all sorts of things. It's never too late to put their timeline to them, because then this way they have something tangible that either you could do it via email through PDFs, or you could do a hard copy depending on what your client prefers. And this way you get to reference it. And then they'll go, oh, instead of saying you never told me. Yeah, don't you remember we went over this? And it's a lot of information, I understand. So sorry for any type of confusion. But yeah, this is something that we need to do. Any questions?
Nope, not yet.
I'll try harder.
I love it.
So now we're going to go over to the sellers. And it's kind of the same thing, but it's coming from a different perspective. And, this is it. Sellers want to get the most that they can. Buyers want to pay the least for the same thing. So your job is to always kind of close that gap. It doesn't matter if you're with the seller or the buyer, but when you're educated, it makes your negotiations easier, and it will make it easier on all parties involved. And again, do your very, very best to take the emotion out. Just put the emotion over to the side of the desk. Then when you're done dealing with the people, then, you can like scream inside a box or something. But yeah, don't sweat in front of your clients. But again, it's the same thing. We're already a small group, so we don't need to do all of this. But as far as the seller, what are things that most of them are the same as the buyer, but what else is the seller going to need as you move forward once they go under contract? They need to make sure that they can have another home to go to. So let's say you have a seller. One thing, if your seller also will need to buy, maybe they're downsizing, you need to put into your listing in your listing, closing date contingent upon the seller finding suitable housing. Or you can make your closing 8 weeks, so the seller can go ahead and find a property. When things a couple of years back, when houses, they came and went on market within a matter of days, and it was easy to get a seller out of a house, maybe not so easy for them to find another house. But anyway, that's what you need to do. set your seller up for success in being able to find another home. If they already have another home, if they have the movers lined up, how are they going to move? Things like that. And then you also let your sellers know what's expected from them. Always let your sellers know that they need to keep their homeowner's insurance until closing. Just every once in a while, you'll get somebody that doesn't have homeowner's insurance because they own a house free and clear. Well, once they go under contract, it's in the contract, they need to have homeowner's insurance. And then again, let them know if the seller is going to be paying for any of the inspections, and you know, is the seller buying a home and has a lender for the home that they're buying, you need to keep in touch with that side of them being the buyer as well. And let's see. Again, what am I doing at each point to bulletproof the transaction and set myself and my sellers up for a successful close? What kind of other things can you think of to keep your seller going? And like with the buyers, giving them timeline, this is what you can expect. It's okay to talk.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So I know this is different really with each negotiation, but who generally drives the closing date? If the buyer is, you know, adamant, like, hey, I want to close in 60 days or 45 days and is really aggressive, but you have a seller that is obviously needing more time. I know that's obviously all negotiable and probably some things will fall through if nobody can bend, or if both of those things are real hard line. But generally, who kind of has the advantage, I guess, the say on closing?
In the contract, when you write a sales agreement, the buyer will put in the day they would like to close. And so when you're sitting down with your buyer, say, hey, buyer, 5 weeks from now is Friday the 14th. Is that closing date going to work with you? And you've probably already spoken with their lender. And sometimes, even if everybody agrees the 14th is great, in the inspection report, things could happen which will delay the closing. You need both parties to come to an agreement. Now, occasionally, you will have, let's say, you have an 8-week closing period because the seller is still looking for a home. Sometimes the seller may find a home right away to move into, so we can bring that closing date closer to, 5 weeks and shave 3 weeks off. But again, both parties need to be in agreement, because that buyer, maybe they're waiting for their house to sell, or they're waiting for the buyers on their home. So the best way to get through that is to communicate along the way. And sometimes you'll just need to make those phone calls and talk to the other agent. And let's say you're in the middle, you're the middle transaction, and you've got a buyer on your seller's property, and but that buyer has a listing agent because their home is being sold, and then the house that your seller, now buyer, is purchasing, you're dealing with that listing agent. So the thing is to communicate and make notes of, I like email communication, and sometimes if it's not breaching my confidentiality, I will do a group chat to say, hey, buyer's listing agent, hey, seller's listing agent, this is where we're at. This is what, or we've made it through inspections. Hey, we've got the appraisal back. There's a little hiccup. Call me when you can. And then that's when you sometimes are in the middle between two other transactions. So you're negotiating and you're looking for, not to beat anybody up. You're looking for what a win-win is. And you take your time before you approach your conversation and just say, hey, we're in it this far, this is what we need, or the seller's property didn't appraise at value. So, you know, we need to ask for, or now the buyer on your listing is saying, can we drop the price by 2,000, or can you give 2,000 in closing costs? And that's up to the individual contract and where you're at. If you've got a really strong property that you think if it goes back on market and you'll get another offer in a day or two, you can always give your clients options. This is what happens if we go this way. This is what could happen if we go this way. And this is what could happen if we go this way. Which way do you think is going to be best? Many times they'll say, you're the expert, you tell me. And you can say, well, if it were mine, this is how I would do it. But it is not my money. It is not my timeline. I'm here to help you out. And you'll get to know your clients because you work with them very closely. You know, the big joke is, I'm going to be your best friend for 8 weeks. After that, I'll ghost you for 2 years, and then you'll see me again. But you have to figure out what type of buyer seller that you're working with, what their personality type is. And if you ever get a chance to take a DISC class or study up on DISC and find out if you have a type A personality, or, you know, somebody that's more laid back, someone who's more feely, you need to figure that out with your clients and then approach them in that manner. But I can't stress it enough. If you can make notations, especially via text or email, it helps you remember what you said and you're consistent. And two, when they say, well, did you tell me that? Oh yeah. You know, we went over it, but there was so much information going on, but it was in that email and we did it line by line. And then they'll go, oh yeah, because it is very stressful when you're buying and selling a home and people do forget. And so it's not saying what you didn't read it, but it's like, we did discuss this and I understand there's a lot of things going on. So yeah, it's right here. And then they'll start to, many people will start to remember it again. Any questions on that? We shall proceed. Okay. Again, we're looking at, whoops. I got a little happy with my finger there. Again, we're going over everything and it's basically the same timeline, but from a different perspective. As the listing agent, it's okay if, you know, let's say the buyer was supposed to put their earnest money in within 5 business days and you're 10 days into the contract. You go, hey, buyer agent, did we get that earnest money? Can you send it to me? I need it for my compliance folder. Oh, let me check to see if they got that in. Oh, there was a hang up, or, you know, well, we really need to get that because right now we are out of contract. I just had one where the buyer was self-representing, and after 2 or 3 weeks, I'm like, hey, you've never even put in an earnest money deposit and you're running around in circles. Sorry, you have no money. You're done. Terminated, got it back under contract the following day, and we're probably going to close, I don't know, maybe next week. So just the more you know, the more you study, the more you listen to people, the better you will get at understanding what rights that you have for your seller and what rights you have for your buyer, but how important all of these things on the timeline, they are important. So don't take it lightly. Don't stress out over it, but just be aware. And in the task management of Command, you can write all this stuff in. You can put the heading of which transaction it is, and then you just put in there and you will get reminders. And if you have the app on your phone, that will help remind you on your telephone as well. So that's nice, especially if you get busy or, you know, it's especially the first one, you know, you want as much help as possible to make sure you hit those timelines.
Can I ask a
Now,
question?
Yes.
On the inspections, if the buyer's agent tells you you cannot use a certain inspector, but yet you've heard that that property has had problems with improper fixings or fix, how would you handle that?
Well, um, it depends on who's paying for it. If they can't, we can request as a listing agent, we can request things, but the buyer can say, I'm sorry, I'm paying for the inspector of my choice. Now,
Okay.
when it comes to having contractors do the work, if you can have the work re-inspected, or if it seems like the seller's being a little shady and the appraisal isn't contingent on that condition being met, then you can negotiate X amount of dollars towards buyer's closing costs or price reduction.
Okay.
You know, but sometimes you will run into those sellers who are adamant that they own the Taj Mahal and they know everything and you're just a realtor. And so
Right.
you go, okay, I respect your position, but I'm also here to advocate for my buyer. And I see you've been on market for 650 days and it's a nice house, but this is where we're at. And today you can sell it, you know, we'll buy it, but these are our terms. And if they don't agree, then you've probably done your buyer a service to show them another house and maybe go under contract with somebody else.
Sweet. Thank you.
Thank you. That great question. But every transaction has its own like rhythm and personality. So if you can remain neutral to the other agent on the other side and always take the high road. Sometimes you'll get agents that are just nervous Nellies, and so they will try to push and nudge you. And it's like, no, let's go back to the contract. That's why we have a contract, and this is we're hitting all of our markers on the contract. Or an agent will say, well, I think your seller isn't going to be moving out on time, blah, blah, blah. Well, you can think what you want. I know my seller and I know my capabilities. If my seller is incapable, I have people on call where I can say, hey, we need a last minute move out. How quick can you get here? You know, it's like a stat situation. I need you for 5 hours to load a truck. Once we get to the other location, you don't have to unload. The seller can do that. We just need to be out. And I also need a cleaning crew. You know, so, but that's why you get to know your vendors and have a good rapport with those vendors in case something like that happens. A few years back, I had a gal, she had closed the day prior. She needed an extra day to get out. And then by her timeline, she was still in the house because her movers didn't show up. And they were kind of, you know, a ragtag bunch. So, yeah, that was a difficult situation. The buyer sat in the driveway, so I just went and got a couple 6-packs of beer, some pizza, and said, hey, I'm sorry, because I didn't have the buyers, I had the seller. You know, we were told that the movers were going to be here. They weren't. While you wait, here, have a bite and a brew. And I've got a cleaning crew coming in right now, just to clean the house. So if you can just hang with me for another hour or two, it will be move-in ready. And sure enough, within an hour, I had the cleaning crew there. We had all the stuff out and the buyers could move in. Yeah,
Sweet.
that's why my hair is white. Any questions? Okay.
No.
So what happens if we get a low appraisal? Can you see that right here?
Well, the buyer
Um,
can back out, right?
The buyer
they
can
choose-
back out, but this is it. The buyer has already spent money on an inspection and an appraisal, and they may have already given their notice if they're moving out of a rental.
Mm.
So the option to the seller is you can reduce the price to meet the appraised value, or you can tell the buyer to come up with the money to make up the difference. And if you have the seller, especially in a market like today, you remind them, do you want to start over? And then if we go back on market, people are going to ask, why are you back on market? You know, who wants to say it didn't appraise at value, but we didn't lower the price? So most people will get it. They won't be happy about it. And to help the seller out, sometimes I will say, you know what, if you're giving up a concession, I will give up, I won't have any realtor fees on that concession. Let's say someone's giving up $10,000 in concessions. I will remove the $10,000 from my commission rate. So instead of charging for like 300,000, I would get my commission on, I would take it on the 290. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't like doing that, but that's kind of like a last stop to say, hey, look, and always remind your sellers and your buyers of what a good job you're doing. Not in like, hey, look at me, that's not it. But remind them of your value. I guess that's a better way to put it. Remind them of your value, that you are a valuable resource to them. And, and the entire time, don't let them stress out. And I can be very loud and boisterous, but when it's time to do business, you get quiet and you listen, and then you inform. You get as much education as you can into that client and say, it's not my transaction. And but we're this far. Do you want to lose? And you ask them hard questions and say, I'm not asking for an answer now, but I need you to think about this. We are 10 days away from closing. And if we go back on market, you still may not recover that extra $5,000 or $10,000. If that's what you want to do, I will support you in that. And then they'll usually ask you questions. Well, what would you do? Well, if it were me, and I really wanted to get this house sold so I can move forward with my life in the scope of things, the $10,000 doesn't mean as much as moving forward with the next step. 9 times out of 10, your seller is moving to someplace else. So they've already got the motive. And that's why in the beginning, when you're talking to your seller to get the listing, you ask them, how quickly do you want to sell your house? You start getting a feel. This is it. You price that house accordingly. Hopefully you don't get those low appraisals, but they do happen. Or if they have conditions called, that's when you need to call in on your vendors to get things done. And sometimes I've had sellers that, didn't have the capital to take care of things. So I would make deals with my clients. Can you wait until closing to get paid through closing? And sometimes I can get that done. Oh, I went too fast. Okay. So again, interaction points. We've got the deadlines, the contracts, the contractors, movers, cleaners, title company, scheduling all those things, and sending any addendums, reports, anything like that. Now, just so you know, in the contract, it is up to the seller if they want to see the inspection report or not. Keep in mind that once a seller receives an inspection report, if their deal doesn't go through, they need to change up their property disclosures to disclose anything they learned in that inspection report. Just so you know.
Is a certain amount days they have to do that on?
You mean well, no. Let's say they can't come to an agreement and the house comes back on sale, comes back on market,
Mhm.
then they need to address those SPDs because now they know that they've got a faulty foundation or a cracked foundation,
Okay.
and it is a material, it's a huge material thing. The biggest things that get called on in appraisals is the paint. So when you get a listing, say, hey, walk through the house, inspect it as best as you know how to, and say, hey, we might get called out on paint. And in our climate, it's harsh. We go really cold to what some people think is really hot, but it does play havoc on wood siding and fascia boards and things like that are exposed to temperatures that go from 0 to low 90s on a regular every year. So guaranteed, we're painting trim every 3 to 5 years.
Wow.
So just remind your sellers of that. Try to get ahead of things. And if, just try to find the best way to get things to move forward and prepare your clients for what could happen, not in a scary way. You stay away from the scary part, but they're relying on you to guide them. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Okie dokie. What time are we at? Oh, and you guys are still awake and with me. Thank you. So, with your command, it automates, as I said earlier, it automates your timelines through your opportunities, and also your when you set up your opportunity, it will give you an automatic link over to your DocuSign. You can always double check all of those things to make sure that your documents are signed and that they're in the compliance folder. And the best thing, if you can get into the habit of doing your compliance on Tuesdays and Thursdays on a regular, to make sure that you clean up, because we have to have things into our compliance folders within 3 days. So just a little heads up. Taken me how many years to say, oh, it's Tuesday, better check my files. We're human, we do our best. Is there anything in today's class so far that has given you an aha moment? Any way that any of the words have helped you, or are you looking for help?
Always looking for help, especially when you're in the middle of a transaction.
Right. So are you in the middle of a transaction right now?
No, I'm not right now. I just finished one, but I was very dependent on somebody else. So
Good. So what if and you don't have to give specifics, but what were the white hair causing moments throughout your transaction?
So for me, I think that I don't know how to use. I was struggling with using the DocuSign, the command, and the emails coming in. I ended up doubling or tripling everything, all my paperwork. And I think it's just because I don't know how it works. I tried to use placeholders, and then I don't know. I was just really overwhelmed with that, trying to figure out how to go from one place to another. And as I did it, I started learning. I figured out that once it came in as an email and I signed it, it instantly went to DocuSign.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and it does take a while. Was that your first transaction?
No, believe it or not, it was my third.
Well, but that's fine. Now, so you've been with Keller for how long?
Since February.
Okay. So you're doing good. You're doing great. And it does take a while. And it's funny because anytime there's an update to command, I get phone calls. How do I get this to go? And really, when you get to command, It's all whenever you get from the contact card, put as much information in there as possible. And there's a reason why they have all of those asterisk marked dialog boxes to fill out. And once you get those down pat, that will usually auto-populate into your transaction. Does that make sense?
Will that populate all the documents you need? Because like I ended up with a whole bunch of documents all of a sudden, like, well, I was in a condo and I had well and fireplace, and I was just like, okay, I don't need this, don't need that.
Right, right. So when you set your command, there is a little tab when you first open a transaction. Under documents, to the right side of your screen, there's going to be a button to link to your DocuSign. And then that will take you to your DocuSign room. And that's where all of the contracts, all of the documents that you put in there, either you import them from an email or they come in through your zip form. Once those documents are in there, when you go to put them into the compliance folder of command, you will be in the, let's just do a contract that you've got the buyer. So you will have 3 tabs on the left-hand side, and it will be for the buyer rep agreement, those documents. I think it's consultation. The middle one will be contract, and then the other will be closing.
Okay.
When you go to let's say you're in or under contract, and you need to put in the residential sale agreement. If you look at the upper top right-hand side, it should have a little box that says command. When DocuSign, sorry. You click on that, you make sure that's there, because you have that or you have computer. So sometimes if you download, let's say you get a title report, you download it. You can then go into your command where it says title report, where it says DocuSign or computer, you click computer. And then you can go down to that tab file, click on that, and it will say browse. Then you can browse wherever you downloaded. Usually it's going to be the top one of your download file. And you can just click open, and it will transport it right into your command.
So my problem was I got a room, and
Yeah.
then when I clicked on, I don't remember exactly what I clicked on, but then DocuSign would ask me, do you want to download it? And I learned I want to say no to that, because I think that's where I started getting too many in my room.
Okay.
I would
And you
repeat
can
3 documents.
Yeah, so you can also clean up your documents, and you can archive anything that you don't want to be in there. And if it's a document that sometimes you can just delete them. If you know that you don't need that document, you can delete it. Other times, if it's, let's say I have a listing and I've been under contract, we fell out of contract, so now I have a second contract coming in. I'm going to take all of the documents from the first contract, and I'm going to archive those, because I don't want them to show up. I don't want to see them. I don't need them. It'll just muddy the water. I just want the current transaction documents in there. So it makes it easier for me to move them from one point to the other.
Okay, so I like that. Now, when you close, do you do the same thing? You archive it?
No, I keep them there. You can go in and put closed, and then with your rooms, you should see where they're closed or not. But that's only if you are really, really wanting to keep a really super tidy house. Name of the game is to get everything into your compliance folder. And if you have hard copy, I usually sit on my hard copies for sometimes at the end of year, I'll double check and make sure I have everything I have in hard copy in that file. And then I will put them in the shred bin.
Oh, okay.
Because it's a lot easier if you don't have to sift through a lot of documents to know which document you need. So that's why even if you're splitting documents in your DocuSign, you know, how you can, let's say you're the listing agent, you get some buyer's agents will send you even the buyer's rep agreement and all that, which I'm like, I don't need it, but you sent it. So I will put it into my DocuSign. There is a little button that you push, you know, you click onto, and you can split the documents in DocuSign. And then like all the buyer stuff that I archive, because it's like, if I don't need it for my file, I get rid of it.
So
You know, I
if
get
you
it out of the
archive
way
it,
to keep things clean.
if you archive it, if you ever need to go back and look at it, can you?
Yeah, you click on archived.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah, because I was scared to I'm scared of getting rid of documents for fear that I get rid of the wrong one.
understandable. And it takes a while. Just keep doing what you're doing. And as you become more comfortable, I always encourage people to explore every platform that you're in. You're not going to get it wrong, but just click on buttons to see what's there, and you can always back out of them.
Oh, okay.
And if they say, are you sure? Then just X out, because it's like, if it's something that I don't think I can retrieve, then I'm not going to go there. But that's how you need to explore your system. So this way, when you take any of the command training courses, you are familiar with all of the applets on the side. You're familiar with what you're looking at on the page. And that is the best thing that I can tell people is don't be afraid of your systems. Play around with it. Worst case scenario is you let somebody know, hey, I think I screwed up on something, and they may or may not be able to take care of it. Worst case scenario, you start a fresh room, you know, or a fresh transaction. But that has to be most things can be backed out and rectified.
So when, like, say I represent the buyer and I send the documents to my buyer and then they sign them and then I forward them to the seller's agent and then the seller sends it back to me, but I still have a copy of just my buyer's signature. Would you archive that and keep the one that has both signatures?
I keep the original, you know, the first one that the buyer signed. And then what I do is when I get it back from the seller, I may relabel it, because you can change the label to FE, which means fully executed.
Okay, fully executed. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you don't archive the other one, you just keep it in there?
Right.
Okay.
In case there's ever an audit, you can say, this is what we wrote, this is what we got back, they match.
So can I ask you one more question? Because I sent a document to my buyer like 3 or 4 times because she kept missing a button that she had to click, and I put the little square box on it for her to notice it, but she kept missing it.
Was it a checkbox?
Yes.
Sometimes it doesn't show up on the other side. But what I do is when I'm filling out my DocuSign, I will check the value of the checkbox, but I will, before I don't randomly do that. But if it is in the sales contract, or let's say, because in there it says, it asks if it's on sewer, on septic and well, I click no, because you're the professional and that's what's written in the MLS Flex or whatever MLS you have. That's what the seller represents. We have public water, public sewer, so we have no septic, we have no well. So those boxes you can check. Sometimes sometimes with DocuSign, it may auto-populate check boxes, but they will be, they have no color to them. So they're kind of like like white, right? You see the outline? you go to the right side of the screen and it will ask you the value. And so you need to put in, it'll say either like read only, or you have to click the little, where they're supposed to initial, click
Mhm.
that as whoever is signing blue. So that's Sally. And whoever is initialing or signing green, that's Bob. So you assign that to Bob. So, but they do have courses in where you can go to DocuSign, and they have some videos, little short 2-3 minute videos that will help you navigate filling out those transactions. But worst case scenario, if it's an X box that your seller keeps or your client keeps missing, text them on line 361. There's a checkbox. I'm going to fill it out as no for you because that's what we had agreed upon.
Okay.
And, you know, and hopefully they give you a thumbs up or recognition on that. But that's, if they're having a problem with it, I'm not filling it out for them. But if they're missing the checkbox, which happens, that's probably the biggest thing, missing the checkbox, or when DocuSign, you're pulling it from your zip forms into your DocuSign, and it will put all of these places for initials, but it
Mhm.
doesn't assign the signer. You have to do it.
Right.
Because they may not see it when it goes over. They're not aware that they should be looking at that. So because it's generic. There's like, they might be filling out on the buyer rep agreement 10 different spots, but you only need 2 spots filled out. So that's up to you to trash the others and make sure that the buyers that you've already discussed it with, you know, these are the places that you need to initial. This is what we're doing. Does that help?
Yes. So,
Awesome.
so one more question. When you do the rooms, the documents come into the room. Am I correct on that? I mean, because I've
Yes.
noticed, because I noticed in my, because I've had like 3 different of the exact same document, but I've noticed that one of them will have everything where they need to sign and initial and all of that. But then the other ones don't. So I'm trying to figure out where that document comes from.
I'm not tracking. So do you have a coach or a mentor?
Yes.
Yeah. Next time you do that, get them on the phone and tell them exactly what you're looking at and what line. If they're in the office with you, that's even better. They can look over your shoulder, but I'm not tracking. I'm not sure exactly what you're explaining, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Yeah, lean in on your mentor. That's, you know, because we like to help. Or your coach, whoever, whatever.
Okay.
So we're going to get back to this: best practices and risk avoidance. There's a lot. So communicate clearly and as often with everyone involved in that step of the transaction. You don't have to give up your clients by explaining to the other side what's going on. Let's say, for whatever reason, there was a tragedy in the family. You don't have to go into details. You can simply say, hey, something came up, which has delayed our transaction. We are going to need an extra 5 days or something like that. Set your expectations up front. Again, if you can get it in writing, if you can, that's why we put those buyer reports in the very beginning, or presentations. You want to put those out to your buyers and your sellers because that puts the expectations up front. And let's say the seller thinks that their house should be 300,000 and you know that the numbers only support 275. I would put my CMA in there, and then I would have the seller initial it or sign it. This is where the seller wants to be at, and this is what your CMA has provided. So you just write something in there that listing agent suggested list price 275. Buyer recognizes that price, prefers listing at 300,000, something like that. So this way, what happens when they come back in 3 weeks and say, how come we haven't had a single showing? Well, seller, I really wish we would have been able to get somebody. And I also tell my sellers right now, if we don't get showings, and if we don't get at least one solid contract coming in within the first 3 weeks, we're missing our market. We need to do a drastic reduction, because the longer we sit on market, the less likely you are to get that buyer. So, you know, when they say, well, should we do a $10,000 drop on a $500,000 property? No, let's do a $20,000 or $25,000 drop, because that's going to get you noticed. That's after you pull comps in that area to see what they're selling for. It's not just willy-nilly to get it sold. You have to have the data to back it up. So that's why always, always, always lean in on your data and share that data. Some people don't want to look at numbers. The majority of people, even if they don't want to look at them, they trust you. That's, if you listen to Chris Juarez, he's always talking about data, and he's not wrong. It's helped me in so many sticky situations to pull the data on the market, on the homes, on the neighborhoods, and say, I would love for this to happen for you. However, data shows this is where we're at. But that choice is yours. We can stay on market. You don't seem to be in a hurry. So, and anytime they say, how come we haven't gotten anything? Well, it could be that we're a little bit higher than the rest of the market, because if you noticed, 2 of our neighbors have sold and we're still on market, and they had more updates, you know, things like that. But say it in soft, kind terms. Make sense?
Yes, it
Yes.
does. I like it when they say the market doesn't support this.
Yeah.
That was a good
And
one.
that's true. And that's true. I mean, we all know when we go to buy eggs, when we go to the grocery store and we see eggs on sale for $2 a dozen, we're going to tell our friends. That's just an example. And where's the deal at risk of falling apart? Feel free to speak up.
Financing.
Yep, financing. Where's the first part where it could fall apart? The title.
I would, oh yeah, or they don't have the, they're not accepted for the loan.
Well, if they're pre-approved, they should be able, you know, if with a reputable lender, that's why you talk to the lender. And some lenders actually will put their buyers to the underwriter from the very beginning, and before they start shopping, that they've already been approved, but approved with conditions that they keep their credit report at this level, that they don't buy anything else, and they provide 3 different documentation or 3 different documents prior to closing. So, you know, sometimes that's why it's any chance that you get to go to the local lenders whenever they're doing like mixers, little cocktail parties or something like that, go and pick their brain. That's what they are there for. It's in a casual setting. You don't have to drink. You can just go, hey, lender, hey, Steve, what about this? Hey, what can you tell me? And that is the main reason they're there. And if you can get a really good rapport with your local lenders, that makes it so much easier when it's time, you know, you get that confidence with that lender. I have a handful of lenders that I work with that I know that they're bomb-proof. There's other lenders that I've worked with that I'm like, I'm going to have to work harder. And I'll do it. You know, it's okay. We can do it. You just have to, you know, stay up on top of it, because if there's a lender that they're using that's out of Minnesota, they're not going to know the first thing about Klamath Falls. They may not know about your area and your seasons, and you know, in Klamath, it's really unique. So there are times that people can't move in wintertime because the roads are frozen. I'm sure Portland has things like that as well. So, yeah. Anyway, that's why you keep in touch with those lenders, and if you have a good lender, try to work with them as often as possible. And then we also have Envoy that comes out of Portland, and especially for VAs, the gentleman there is very, very passionate about helping the veterans. So that's a good guy to know as well. So what are the best practices to keep the deal alive?
Good negotiations.
Yep. Everything is a negotiation. And I let people know, just because we're accepted, this is just the beginning of the trail. This is a journey. And at key points, there is negotiation nonstop from beginning to end. And sometimes after the end, there's always negotiations. So learn how to negotiate. And the best way is listen to your clients, and don't be quick to talk over them or tell them what you do know. Say, let me think about this and I'll get back to you. Which sometimes I've had sticky situations and I don't immediately have an answer, but I want to get it through my head. So that's what I'll do. Or I will go find a mentor and say, hey, I've got an issue. How can you help? What would you do? And kind of brainstorm. In our market center in Klamath Falls, in our local office, we have like a monthly mastermind where we, Don Downing, it's his office, and we're all solo brokers. But it's always great if you can ever pick that man's mind, because he is amazing. You are the fiduciary. So you take care of your clients. That is your number one job. And it's always the golden rule. How would I want someone to treat me? And it isn't about your paycheck. It is about that client. I would rather lose a paycheck and keep a client for the rest of my working career than to push the paycheck and then lose that person, because you get so close with your clients. And again, you'll be best friends for 8 weeks, and then, they go on their way. And a couple of years later, you're like, hey, I haven't seen such and such. Let me just send them a text. And that's how you get repeat business. Okay, we are getting any ahas from this? Okay, we'll keep moving. This leads us into referrals and reviews. Ask your clients to give you a review if they can. Make use of the free platforms, either on Zillow, Homes, Realtor, anything that has free referral, free reviews. Try to get those, and ask your clients, if they give you a review, if you can put that into your marketing, and you don't have to have their full name. You can just put, Sally K or something. But also reach out to the vendors that you work with. Let's say you go to Home Depot often. It's okay to let the people at Home Depot know that you're a realtor. Your restaurants. Even if I were up in Portland having dinner, I'm still going to drop my business card on the table before I leave. It could be right to the garbage can. I don't care. I still put that energy out there. For what? 2 cents for a business card. You've got to let people know you're a realtor, and you've got to ask for the business, and then you prove why they should hire you. And that's really, it's no different than, because it's your business, it's no different than having a brick and mortar store and telling people why they need to shop your store. It's the same thing. It's just, if you're working out of an office and people can come to see you. You don't have to spend a lot of money on getting referrals. And one of the best ways to start with, I'm sure you covered it in the very beginning, is reach out to everyone you know and remind them that you're a realtor. For your Christmas cards, even if it's family, send your business cards in their Christmas cards. I know it's kind of cheesy. What's the worst they're going to do? Laugh at you? Stick the business card in there. Or, and I'm pretty, obnoxious. Yeah. So I don't care what people think whenever I do, you know, things that are outside of the norm. Just find a way to get the word out that you're a realtor, be respectful, and let them know. And you can even do things, especially in summertime here. It's nice to do agent appreciation type things. You can either do it at your market center or collaborate with, you can collaborate with a lender. Hey, let's do a client appreciation. And if you can get a free haul, you know, get vendors in and make a conversation, make things happen. But you need to be known. You need to let people know that you're a realtor. Any questions on that? So this is it. You do this long enough, you will get repeat business all the time. And if not just from the client that you sold a house to, and later they need to sell it, you'll also get their family members or their friends or their work people. So always keep in contact. You don't have to hit them over the head. It can be an annual holiday card. Thanksgiving is, to me, the best time to send out cards. This is a time to be thankful, and I'm so grateful I had the opportunity to help you in the largest financial decision you've made. Things like that. You don't have to be over the top with that, but sincerely, I really do appreciate my clients. I appreciate the time I get to spend with them, and I appreciate the brokerage that I work with, because I have so much freedom to run my business my way. All I have to do is follow the rules. And between the MREA, read the book. If you get stuck somewhere, go back, read the book, and just do what it says. It's that simple. Send out your flyers, go meet people, ask for the business. Client reviews, any chance you get to have someone write something about you online, you can then send it over and post it on your Facebook, your Instagram. I don't do TikTok, although I do watch them on other platforms. But yeah, find a way to get it out there. And especially in your neighborhood. I'm not a door knocker, but I do like to take walks. And sometimes if you have a dog or a horse that you can walk down the street, guaranteed neighbors are going to come out and say hi. I know not everybody has a horse, even though I think everybody should. At every conversation, throughout the transaction, you know, you get to know your clients. Then at the close, hey, okay, so I got this. I'm looking for another job. Do you know of anybody who's looking to buy or sell? But put your own words, because that's the cheesiest line out there. I use it all the time, but change it up. Don't sound so cheesy. People know I'm obnoxious, so they put up with me anyway. But again, this is the thing. It goes over and over again. The repeat business, the business referrals. You can actually even try to find, you can call, let's say you hire the same inspector because he does a good job. And then you can say, hey, John, I know that you've been doing a lot of my inspections. If you know of, do you know of anybody right now that it isn't represented that has, you know, they're looking to list or to buy? You know, I just closed a couple of transactions and looking for the next one. Whatever your verbiage is, use it. I think we've aha'd all we can. And then after the close, always follow up with your people. Yeah, again, you can do in the command system, you have the touch system there. It automates. You can watch a video, or you can, what is it? I think you can go through Connect and just type in, now that they have AI, to point you in the direction of how to do post-close follow-up. And then just follow the instructions and get comfortable with it. Get so comfortable with asking for work that it doesn't make you cringe anymore. That's the best thing I can say. Any questions right now? I still have 10 people here, so that's pretty good. Question? Okay. Again, here's the neighborhood nurture. And even if it's not anyone you've worked with, but you can ask people, hey, would you mind if I put you on my email list, you know, and then, or my texting, and I can give you a weekly or, you know, a bi-weekly neighborhood nurture. And it's data, it's giving them data. The number one thing people want to talk about is real estate because it is the biggest investment. You know, and everybody thinks they know real estate and they want to, you know, they think, oh, you never know what someone's thinking, but people do love to talk real estate. They want to poke around to see if you really know what you know, and so, yeah, study your data and then try to make conversations. And if you can share any data, people appreciate that. They would rather it come from you, that you've put the work into it, than just going to Zillow. That's how you build trust. And in any business that you're doing, and in any type of relationship, as Gary Keller put it, real estate is a contact sport. Anyone you're in contact with, hold yourself to a higher level, because you are representing yourself and you are the expert, and you want people to trust you, and you want to be able to trust your clients to trust you. You know, you don't have to get personal about your whole life or anything like that. Just be good at what you do, and you're going to have lifelong clients. Any questions?
Nope.
Another thing. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, no.
Oh, okay. Your co-agent follow-up. After I do a closing, I let Kay Ree, who is the market center leader in Medford, and I let her know, hey, I worked with such and such. They did a great job. Can you reach out and say thanks? You know, and sometimes I will send out $5 coffee cards. Of course, maybe now I need to make $6 coffee cards, and say, hey, just wanted to say, you know, we're both busy. Would love to take you out for a cup of coffee. Here you go. And what happens is you have created a stronger relationship with that realtor. So the next time you have a deal together, you have more confidence working with them, and they'll have more confidence working with you. If you have two professionals working together, and it doesn't matter what color their moniker is, you know, it doesn't matter which agency they're with. If they're a good agent, they're a good agent, and you want to work with them. You know, and sometimes your buyers want to see two different houses. You can't steer them and say, oh, this is a better agent. But if they are like, okay, there's 3 houses and we can't make up our mind, you can say the pros and the cons to the houses, each and every one, and you have to stay consistent. And then say, I've never worked with this agent. I've had success in closing 5 transactions with this agent, and it would be, you know, and they're a good agent. Or I've had a couple of closings with this agent, and just leave it at that. You know, if it was a bad deal, and just leave it at that. But it is nice when you get to know. And what happens is, if you have a listing, those agents are more likely to bring their buyers if you are good to work with. And by good, I don't mean caving on your client, that you answer your phone, that you get documents signed promptly, that you communicate all the appointments that you need to make and with closing. And, you know, they can say, hey, what do you think your client's going to do? I can't tell you what my client's going to do, but tell me what you need and let me see what I can do. When you have that good working relationship, then if they ever get unhappy with the brokerage that they're at, let them know how happy you are with Keller. That's just my own personal tip. Okay. So recap, has your thinking changed with this class today?
I think definitely each time I take a class, I get a little more confidence. So I thank you for that.
Yeah, no, it's you. The work that you put into your studying that's what builds your confidence. And then you can't go by just the books alone. You need to talk to people. So there are the Keller Williams Facebook groups. You can always just push questions out there and let the random masses interact with you. And it's good.
Didn't think about that one.
Yeah, there are so many resources that if we outlined all the resources right up front, it is so overwhelming that it's like whoosh, way too much information. But if you say, okay, this week I've learned this, and how can I build on it? And how can I build on it? What happens is when we first begin, we think we should know it all, and that's impossible. I act like a know-it-all, but there's so much more way to go. No, just kidding. I like to have fun in life if you can't tell. Yeah, always find room for laughter because it's better than tears.
It's true.
So yeah, always be cognizant of your mindset and don't compare yourself with other agents. Boom, 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 I'll slap you. Don't do that. Just know that you're better today than what you were yesterday and find a way to be better tomorrow than where you are today. But do not compare yourself to other people because everybody's fighting their own battles. You don't know where they've been, what they've gone through to get there. But make your own success story. You know, journal if you need to. This is where I want to be. And then with your business plan, you know, you can actually make like a happiness plan. How am I going to, because when you're in good spirits, people can't help but be happy around you. And those that can't be happy, you don't want to be around them anyway. So anyway, also, what do you feel differently about? What was meaningful for you today? Does anyone have an answer to that?
Meaningful. You helped me a lot with trying to figure out how to keep my DocuSigns and all of that. And I appreciate you taking the extra time for that.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Always know your tools. I used to work on houses, and to this day, nothing makes me happier than going to like a hardware store and getting a new tool and then learning how to use it. And I still have all my digits, so that's good. So just think of all these platforms, especially everything being electronic. Think of it, that's your tool chest. And then that's part of your tool chest. The other is your knowledge and knowing the data. And that's how you go in there. And that's how you present to your clients. They don't have to know you got your license at the beginning of the year. You know, we all live in a home. You know, what have you experienced living in the house you live in? And take and lay that over into your business. Make sense?
That's
Yes.
you know, that's one of the things is learning the tools that we have available to us. It's amazing when you get in and mess around with them a little bit and just explore the things you're getting out of it. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, do your practice runs, play around with it. In your command, you can create a test. You know, you just put test dummy as your contact card, and then you can play around in that. And if ever anybody says, what is this? When it says test dummy, they're going to know that it isn't really a compliance folder. You're just testing, you know, and that's where you've got to make some mistakes to solidify what you really know. You make one mistake and that will carry over into how you move forward on your platforms. And where you don't want to make mistakes, but it happens because we're human. And anytime we try something new, when we first started to learn to walk, we fell down a lot, you know. And if you go into every transaction, every new meeting with, I may not get it perfect, but I'm here and I'm going to do the best I can. Take anything, because we are our worst critics, take all those critiques and say, what can I do better? Then do it, and then take all that other garbage and throw it away. You can't ruminate over, oh, I said this, or oh, I lost, because sometimes you'll go in for a listing and there's 10 people vying for the listing. If you didn't get it, then that means you're going to go get another one. Just always tell that to, I didn't need that one. I'm going to get this one instead. And just keep that up. Keep that positive attitude. Because when you walk into a place and you're feeling positive, people around you will feel that and they will gather confidence from you. And it's not faking it, because we've all, whatever we've lived in life, we're here today. So just pull on all of those life experiences and put it into real estate. Okay, I'll stop being Guru Laura for right now. Sorry, my airy fairy side. So now these are questions for you. You don't have to answer them, but how is your behavior going to be different going forward? And then just make little notes of what actions that you're going to take today. And then again, your tools and models and systems. You don't have to do it all in one day. Just start somewhere and then build off of it. Just start. That's the best thing I can say. And whenever you start putting the energy into your platforms or into your mailers or going to social events, if you ever have a chance to get a table at any of like farmer markets, anything like that. And one of my favorite things is Ask Me Anything, where if I sit at a booth, ask me anything about real estate. And then let's have a conversation. At the home shows, I like to play games. So we could do, play a round of blackjack or something. Never talk about real estate, but that person gets to know you. And then guaranteed by the end of the game, they'll ask you about real estate. Well, this is my house. What do you think it's worth? Well, give me your address and your email, and I'll send you a CMA. And, and I'm not going to bother you after that, but I will put you on my automated list that you can always unsubscribe from. And I'll just give you updates every couple of weeks on where the market's at, if that's what you want, but you don't have to do it. And most people go, well, if you're not going to talk to me, then that's fine. No, people want the data and they want to know who's behind the data, because we are marketed to nonstop. I mean, we talk about anything in a conversation, and then next thing we know, we're getting marketing ads for that through our phones, next platform that we're on. So just find your authentic self, find your professionalism, merge the two together, and just, it's your business. You get to make it whatever you want it to be. You know what the rules are. You know what the NAR rules are. You know what the brokerage rules are. Just follow the rules. And when in doubt, just ask somebody, specifically the principal broker, hey, how do I do this? Am I doing this right? Okay. And, your daily success systems. Apparently I do talk a lot, and I even have friends that talk for me. So that's something else that you can do. If I'm in a social setting, my friends will be gracious enough to say, oh, this is Laura. She's a good friend. And she was our realtor and we bought our house, blah, 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 years ago. And she's been able to help these people and those people. And, and then I give them another margarita. No, just kidding. But yeah, so just find where your comfort zone is and be an advocate for yourself. And just bring in the people that will advocate for you. Any other questions? Oh, I have one more thing that I have to do. Sorry. So you guys do this on all of them. This one, just in case you do robocalls or any of that, be aware of the do not call list. I'm sure that you've heard this every single time. You don't want to be fined for calling somebody that is on a do not call list. So always read this. It's everywhere. You can find it in your command, in your connect. And then, because I'm looking at the time, I engage every conversation in the spirit of contribution, and people are happy to be in relationship with me. And yeah, that's what we're striving to be right there. Okay, no role play today. Do you guys ever do that? Ever do role play at the end of class? I'll take that as a no. Now, I have 3 minutes left. Ask me anything. Bueller, class. Does anybody have any questions?
I'll just chime in. I would just echo what what Ken and some of the other folks have said about I don't want to say overwhelming, but just the processes and programs that are in place and the documents that have to be signed and all that stuff. I think most of us probably feel relatively good about speaking with customers and potential clients. I know for me, the reps that are going to help are going to be the ones where I'm actually going through the documents and getting a feel for what and how that flows. And that, I think, to me will probably be my next step as far as like setting up some meetings with my coaches and going through and physically going through a transaction, a test transaction. So that first one, when it's legit, isn't so overwhelming.
Yeah. And when I first started, the first thing I did is I printed out every document in forms, in the OREA forms, and then I mock filled them out. So I would feel comfortable going into my first transaction. Because I had worked with a team flipping houses for about 10 years. And then my knees and my back said, stop it. And it's easier to sell them, to fix them and sell them. But even though I had base knowledge, I needed to know contracts because that's your written agreement. And to this day, with every relationship, I think we should all have contracts of what it is people can expect. Any business relationship. This is what I'm going to do, and this is, these are my duties, and this is what I'm expecting. And you can let your clients know as well. Hey, a lot of these documents are time sensitive. So what is the best time of day for me to send them to you? Are you better at signing documents morning, at lunchtime, or after dinner? So this way, if you send it in the morning, you go, well, this is an after dinner person, so I'm not going to expect this to be signed until 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And so this way you can always tell the agent on the other side, person works all day, they sign in the evening. So if I get it in before 9 o'clock tonight, I'll have it over. If not, it will be in the morning. And if you don't have it by 9, you can just shoot a quick text. Hey, did I send it to the right email address? Something like that. But yes, I took those contracts and I read them and I highlighted what needed to be filled out. And then I wrote little notes on the side that said, fill this out in case of this, fill this out when this happens. And that helped out a lot. And I made a clause library of particular verbiage that needed to be put into consistent documents. For a while, when we were going into multi-offer situations a few years back, I had a paragraph all set up, but somewhere in my computer. But this way it covered all the bases on if my client gets the contract and how we're going to do it, or if I were the listing agent, this is multi-offer and how to put it into addendums. Like if people put the offers in and I'm going to send them a document stating this is a multi-offer situation, bring your best and highest. Then I would have another document of what the seller would net. And at one point there were, I think the highest in our office whenever the market was crazy was 14 offers on one property. And to be able to line it out to what was going to be in the seller's best interest, as your job, you've got to read through all of those in one evening to hit deadlines so you can move forward. But anyway, I went way off base. Sorry about that, Jake. But yeah, read those contracts, get comfortable with the contracts, put in a dummy account and try to make mistakes on it. And when you make mistakes, then you go, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Like even when it's been 2 months since I've been doing a Zoom, and I had to have Mara remind me, yeah, I forgot to push the slideshow button. So, oh well, here we are. We got through the class. Any other conversations? Any questions? Anything?
Thank you for your time.
Oh, you're so welcome. And we'll
Yeah.
see you in the next meeting, Ken.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you. You guys go out there and kill it.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.